Hey guys, what would it be like if you could last 10 times longer when you're having sex?
We are going to teach you how to gain massive confidence as a lover, all without performance anxiety, gimmicks, or prescription.
This course is perfect for you if you've ever been mortified by a sexual encounter that ended way too early.
Or if you've ever avoided intimacy out of fear that you won't last as long as your lover desires. Or maybe you long to give your partner multiple orgasms but can't last long enough to make that a reality.
Well, good news, we've got your back, and it's in our course, Last 10 Times Longer. Go to sexreimagined.com/last dash the number 10 X dash longer.
And for all of our favorite listeners out there, we are giving you a discount, 20% off, y'all. Just put in podcast 20, all caps, podcast 20 to get your 20% off of this phenomenal course that you're going to want to review more than once.
We cannot wait to see you inside this course. Plus, don't forget, we always got tons of bonuses. See you there.
Welcome to the Sex Reimagined podcast, where sex is shame-free and pleasure-forward. Let's get into the show.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Sex Reimagined podcast. My name is Leah Piper.
And I'm Dr. Willow Brown, and we're so excited to drop in with you today. We just finished supporting and teaching at teacher training, Tantra teacher training, and we were just really blown away with the men there and what they were going through.
What we've been really enjoying lately is getting to know many of our listeners. We are interviewing you, and we really want to know what you want to hear on the show. Starting to really curate the Sex Reimagined podcast to our biggest fans. And we're really grateful to Ron, who wanted to share a little bit about what's interesting to him regarding Tantra. And you want to say more about that since you had the conversation?
Yeah. So I was talking to Ron. He's like, yeah, I listened to your show. I think it would be really cool if you guys did a show around how in many tantric teachings, there's a big emphasis on what women need in order to open sexually. Like they need to feel safe. They need to have a strong container. They need all these things in order to feel connected to emotionally. And so there's a lot of practices around that. And he's like, but what about the men? Like I want to have more emphasis and I want to hear more about like what men need in order to feel connected to. And so we wanted to kind of drop an episode around what do men really need in order to feel sexually open, in order to feel like they are bringing all of themselves to the table.
So we just, like Willow said, got done facilitating a teacher training here in the Sacramento area with Source School of Tantra Yoga. And in that program, there are 4 home play assignments, 2 with which you are a giver to a receiver doing a sacred spot massage practice. And then the other 2, you are a receiver while someone gives to you. And then after those home play assignments, people go to their separate rooms to do the lab, so to speak. And then the next day, they come and everyone shares what they discovered. And, if they hit an obstacle, we help them through that. We get to hear about their ahas, what they learned about energy, what they learned about pleasure, what they learned about tracking their own system, what they released. So many people have a cathartic letting go because someone's really pouring so much love into their system. And it's always stunningly beautiful. It just will touch you so deeply. And I've been struck in the 20 plus years that I have been teaching with Source School of Tantra Yoga, my breath was always taken away like extra when the men would come back from their homework.
Mm-hmm.
To me, both experiences were always profound. The women coming back and sharing their experience would touch me in the deepest ways, but there was something unique about the men. Like something drops in such a sweet way that it's like they gush with gratitude and they experience new levels of pleasure and they feel really moved. Almost all of them.
Yeah, it's almost like it helps them to find this new place of worthiness inside of themselves.
Yeah, I think there's something about having a woman's undivided attention on them for a full 2 hours.
Where they don't have to perform.
Yeah, they don't have to perform. They don't have to give back. And I think it's more novel.
Yeah.
for like what's regular sexuality between men and women. And we'll focus this episode more on heterosexual relationships in this context, though it'd be very interesting to see different
Like
relationship
two men
styles,
together,
two women,
two
or even
women.
like pods, right? Like
Uh-huh.
how these things would vary. So we don't have that data for you yet. We'll stick with this.
Yeah.
So we've been sitting with that and thinking about this topic and got some feedback from Ron. And one of the things you'll notice at a lot of, I would say, neo-tantra program, less so probably classical tantra programs.
Explain neo-tantra for Ron.
We always like the new tantra, right? Which tends to be an emphasis on sexuality practices. Classical tantra is way more about meditation, and it's a lot less about sexuality. Just to keep it super simple.
And Tantra itself, the word, if you haven't heard us say it yet, which you probably have, but it's a tool for expansion. It's a weaving of expansion. So it's a practice by which you open up your consciousness to higher states. And so doing meditation practices, doing Qigong practices, doing, even yoga practices can be a tantric practice. I mean, you can live a tantric life whereby every breath that you take is an opportunity to expand your consciousness. So when we're working with neo tantra and taking it into the physical body, into the lower chakras, the root chakra, the second chakra, the third chakra, we're really bringing in more physical form. I feel like the sort of classical tantra really addresses these upper chakras, and the neo tantra kind of gets to these more embodied chakras.
And I would say that Ron's experience mimics much of my experience. I think also it can depend on who's teaching.
For sure.
When it's a male teacher and he's heterosexual, he tends to emphasize his experience with women.
Yeah.
And so he's going to talk more about like the practices that awaken a woman's sexual energy and how she can cultivate that and how she can move that up and how she can heal and the letting go process and the sounding and on and on and on. What we wanted to share is some of the nuances of what men need and what they're looking for in many instances in order to feel more connected and to elevate their consciousness regarding their sexuality and their intimacy skills.
Yeah. One of the things that I think men don't even know that they need, like it's not in their awareness because it's not something that's often given or presented to them is to be romanticized, for them to have like the flower petal trail that leads to the bed, and for them to be given a rose and to have the candles and the scents. It really helps them drop into a more receptive, open state. They can get in touch with a place inside of themselves. You could say their feminine energy, but it's that connection to the inside, to the receptive side that I think really can like blast open their heart. So for a man to get that in his receptive heart center, it's just one of the most beautiful things to witness. And I actually get to play with the students in these trainings.
She goes into the home play pile.
Yeah. So I go do sessions with different, men on different nights. And when I was getting the opportunity to give to a couple of them, it was just like so beautiful to watch their whole system regenerate. It's like we've got these synaptic pathways in our brain, and so these new neural pathways start to weave where they have these ahas or these realizations, like these visceral ahas of like, oh my God, this is happening for me right now and I deserve it. I am worthy of it. Like this is something that I have done work on myself in order to get to the level where I can receive this.
The way I look at this is we're wanting to up-level our ability to run more energy, to run more current. I think we can all recognize that if we had more energy, our lives would be operating at optimal, right? So we're all interested in more energy. And sexual practices can be a gateway to that. And what's interesting when you take a look at circuitry within your own body, but then circuitry within someone else's body, they can be very complementary. We can take a look at these different energy poles, much like a circuit. In order to plug into a circuit, you have to have a negative charge and a positive charge. Just like in order to run a battery, it has a negative charge and a positive charge. The positive charge sends the current out. It's a sender. It's an active station. It is moving the current forward. The negative charge is the magnetic charge. It's the one that receives that energy that is being put out towards it. Very magnetic, very yummy. So if we take a look at the body and we imagine that the body has these both negative and positive charges that we can run a lot of current through, we would see a penis-owning body and a vulva-owning body have different charges in different places. So for a vulva owner, their negative charge, which means where they are receiving station, the magnetic pole is going to be their genitals. And it makes sense, right? Like the female genitals, it's tucked in, but you can also penetrate it. It's a receiving station, literally. And if you were to look at a penis owner's body, you would say that that penis is the positive pole. It's an energy that actually is created outside of the body to literally send and penetrate. So in this case, you have locks for each other's keys and keys for each other's locks. They fit pretty nice when they are attracted to each other and they are well suited and there's a harmonic situation going on. A lot of current. When just think about sexual energy, like so much current is being generated there. It is so fiery. And when we're being sexual, we feel alive. We are so connected to the depth of that. Let's take a look at where the positive charge is on a woman's body, and that would be her heart. Her breasts are the physical manifestation of that energy that sends outward into the world. I mean, we literally nourish human beings so that they can survive and thrive through this positive pole, the plus side of the battery, and the breasts are the physical manifestation of that. We send our energy out in the world, oftentimes in the request for connection. Meet us in our heart. And so then the magnetic pole, that negative charge, the minus side of the battery of a man's heart, is the complementary pole for that positive charge in a woman's heart. And I mean, raise your hand, audience, if you get what I'm saying, because isn't a man's heart so attractive? Isn't it so magnetic? Don't we want in? Mm-hmm. I know I do. Mm-hmm. And we all know that a lot of men want in to our receptive vessel. That's right. So again, we have this really beautiful harmonic exchange. But what's interesting is this is also where we do war with each other when we are unconscious.
Yeah, where we withhold sex as women when we're not feeling connected or we're not getting what we want from our partner, and then where we withhold love, where the masculine can withhold love and withhold that deeper emotional connection.
It's also where we take from each other. When we take without consent sexually, and when we take emotionally without consent,
which is a lot more unconscious than we can even say. Like women are doing that pretty unconsciously a lot of the times, trying to get into that masculine heart without the door actually opening to welcome them in.
Another way of saying is that most of us vulva owners don't appreciate it when someone acts entitled to our sex.
Yeah.
You know, it's a privilege to be able to enter someone else's body. And so it gets very annoying. It could cause a lot of upset when someone acts needy and entitled, and they take and they grasp and they pull and they pout and they complain and they whine because they think they have a right to a woman's sex. And so that creates a lot of issues in a relationship. The same thing can be true with the heart. A woman can act entitled to a man's heart as if she just has an automatic right to live there. And we don't. Not even mother does. And a lot of men start guarding their heart at a very young age because they've had a mother who's acted entitled to have access to his heart whenever she wants, even when he's angry. Mm-hmm. And so like what we're really looking at is, what if we treated a man's heart the way we want men to treat our yoni?
What a different world we would be living in, really, truly. And I think it's these tender places in our bodies that really are craving respect. They're craving this, honoring and this reverence that we can really offer each other, especially when we've had some training around how to do that, how to be reverent and how to be honoring with each other's bodies and with each other's emotional states. It's just miraculous what opens up for both genders when that happens.
Well, what's also interesting is when we are triggered, our natural impulse is to protect the most vulnerable pole. So these poles are often talked about from a masculine feminine perspective too. That minus sign of the battery is often referred to as the feminine. The plus side is often referred to the masculine. So when you think about it, which part of your system are you going to protect first? Typically the feminine. So a man's going to protect his heart and a woman's going to protect her yoni or her pelvis. So, he might be mad at you, but he could still have sex with you. Most women, if I'm mad at you, I'm not letting you get anywhere near my sex.
Yeah.
And so men also guard their heart. It's like, why isn't your heart open?
Yeah.
Open your heart.
Yeah.
I can't feel you.
Hell no.
I mean, women who come to my women's groups and they're often like, where are all the open-hearted men? I just want an open-hearted man. And I'm like, well, geez, are you the type of woman who's safe
to be open-hearted with? Yeah. And it is that, I think that's the synaptic shift that I was talking about that we get to see with people that we work with, is that they realize that they are safe and that they can choose to be safe with certain choice people in their lives.
Yeah, and it makes sense that there are a lot of men whose hearts have been guarded because this is where they've been wounded. This is where they don't trust the women in their life or their romantic partners.
Yeah.
And so when we are empowered with this knowledge, then our sensitivity goes up in how we approach a man's heart, especially in upset. And learning how to knock on the door of that heart and then be patient, just like we would want someone to be patient with our yoni if it wasn't quite open in the moment as we're dealing with
shoving your way in.
Yeah, because sometimes
does not feel good. It's not safe. Nobody likes that.
Yeah, and we need people to respect when the door is closed and then to approach it gently and to ask what one needs in order to open and to go on that journey. Yeah. And it also, is encouraging for those of us who know that we're closed to go do the inner work that's needed so that we can have those circuits in harmony with the people that we want to love with. Yeah. It can be really helpful and really powerful. Yeah. So given that was one of the areas that we wanted to touch on, because there's really kind of 3 areas that we wanted to discuss in relationship to this idea that oftentimes this emphasis on what do women need in order to connect? What do women need in order to have sexual awakening, to have full body orgasms, to go to these places of great intimacy? There's a lot of rich conversations around that topic, and we wanted to shift this over to what do men need? And this is where this conversation regarding the battery and circuitry and the heart and the genitals and its opposite polarity, if we could approach men with more consciousness towards their heart so that there was a safe place for their heart to blossom, open, connect, we would be getting some of the deep intimacy that women often require in order to open up their sex.
Yeah, there's that old saying, it's like women need
connection
in order to have sex, and men need sex in order to feel connected. So it's sort of a not quite a perfect match, but if we can slow down enough and start to create more a sense of safety within each other's nervous systems, and really kind of, it is so much about slowing down and finding out what that person needs. I mean, this is one of the big things that was profound during this last teacher training, was how everyone was really like wowed by the intakes that they were doing. So when we're working with a client, just like as an acupuncturist, I would get a full intake on somebody's health history. Have they been through cancer? Do they have that in their family history? Do they have diabetes? Do they have a hard time sleeping? What's going on with their hormones? I want to know all that stuff. I need an intake. And so we do that same intake for someone before, providing a tantric experience and session for them. And in that intake,
So the questions are different.
in the intake, we ask like, well, what kind of heartbreak have you been through? What kind of sexual trauma? What
are your boundaries?
Well, boundaries. Where are you at in your romantic life right now? Are you calling in a partner? Are you happy on your own? Do you want to feel happy on your own, or are you already in relationships? There's so many things, and I feel like I magnetize and work with a lot of divorcees, mostly male divorcees, but there's this thing that they really want to rediscover themselves. They really want to find themselves again. They may have spent so many years in a marriage from the time they were in their early 20s to now they're in their 50s or 60s, and they don't know who they are anymore. So all these things that we go through in the intake form is what we weave into the session, because when somebody is in an open, naked, vulnerable, receptive place, they can receive things in such a different way. They can receive messages, they can receive affirmations, they can receive
pleasure,
that they are worthy, and receive that pleasure in such a more embodied way. It's going to get in so much deeper.
And they can receive themselves, like they can start to really feel into a deeper place inside of themselves that is blocked to experiencing love and pleasure and functionality in the way that their sexuality responses.
Yeah.
Whether they're struggling with ejaculatory control or erectile dysfunction or a broken heart. It's like when you have someone who's really holding the space for you and allowing you to just receive, you don't have to give back. It just opens up the psyche in a really special way, because sexuality is a part of the process. We're not leaving out the dirty bits, and to actually experience your dirty bits not being dirty can be quite a beautiful thing.
Let's take a quick break.
Hey guys, what would it be like if you could last 10 times longer when you're having sex?
We are going to teach you how to gain massive confidence as a lover, all without performance anxiety, gimmicks, or prescription.
This course is perfect for you if you've ever been mortified by a sexual encounter that ended way too early.
Or if you've ever avoided intimacy out of fear that you won't last as long as your lover desires. Or maybe you long to give your partner multiple orgasms but can't last long enough to make that a reality.
Well, good news, we've got your back, and it's in our course, Last 10 Times Longer. Go to sexreimagined.com/last-10x-longer.
And for all of our favorite listeners out there, we are giving you a discount, 20% off, y'all. Just put in podcast 20, all caps, podcast 20, to get your 20% off of this phenomenal course that you're going to want to review more than once.
The link is in the show notes. We cannot wait to see you inside this course. Plus, don't forget, we always got tons of bonuses. See you there.
They're not dirty. They're full of actually cleansing and purifying light and pleasure. What in the olden days when men would come back from war, before they were introduced back into society, they would go through the priestess temples, and they would be purified through sexuality, because it's such a deep and profound way of letting go of shit that is holding you back, like letting go of those old experiences, we call them samskaras, these imprints from the past, these experiences that keep stamping out in your current life. You keep seeing through the lens of that old trauma. So it's just such a profound and beautiful way to clear all of that. Even if it's just for a moment in time, it gives you a glimpse into what's possible moving forward in your life.
When we have complications in our relationship, and we want to have better sex with each other. If we can, really look inside of ourselves and notice what we need. Do we need sex in order to open and be connected? Or do we need connection in order to open up our sex? And it doesn't really matter what gender you identify with.
Yeah.
That's just a simple question you can ask yourself, because you may have a preference.
Yeah.
There may be a path in a way that works for you. And that needs to be acknowledged, that needs to be cultivated, and that needs to be discussed between you and your partner, especially if you do it differently from each other. So if I really want to honor, if I'm really craving connection with my partner, maybe I'll show up and seduce them so I can feel that open juiciness of them in that process of making love that allows them to be even more present with me after the lovemaking is over. I know that is certainly true in my relationship. Matt is like, oh my God, he is a little darling. I mean, he wants to help cook and he'll text me 1,000 times and I'm on his mind all the time. Like the connection volume goes way up after we've been sexual.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm trying to think, do I need connection before I can open sexually? I don't know.
Probably
if I would
not
use those
as
words.
much.
I think what I need is
Yeah.
a slow transition.
Okay.
I need
makes
to come, I need to not go straight to sex.
Mm-hmm.
I need to come slowly into my body.
Yeah.
I need to have like that transition of going, okay, I'm going out from doing life here with just Leah to now transitioning to interacting with someone else in an intimate way. And I just need that to be a little bit slower. And then my body really opens.
What's your favorite way
beautifully.
to transition?
Like probably a massage,
Uh-huh.
like get me into my body, and
Or hot tub?
hot tub's great. Yeah.
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 Something to stop the doing the prefrontal cortex mind and the working mind, and then to get into your heart and your body.
And I kind of need non-sexual touch before it goes to sexual touch.
Uh-huh.
So I need a different touch before we go into foreplay.
Yeah. So most women need that. And most men really appreciate that as well. They may not need it, but again, it's one of those things that they don't know that they need until they get it. And then they're like, oh, that was so nice.
I also think men really appreciate that as they start to get into their middle years.
Yeah.
Because the
I agree.
oxytocin levels change.
Well, the testosterone levels change.
Well, so does the oxytocin.
Yeah,
So when
yeah.
women start going through menopause, their oxytocin levels actually drop,
Mhm.
and their need for bonding becomes less essential. Men's in middle age, their oxytocin levels go up, and they actually require more intimacy in order to have fulfilling sex.
Yeah.
So I think it's an interesting age dynamic. And I think
Yeah.
testosterone also plays a big role.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it goes down and estrogen levels rise. So in men. So it's, all these things we want to take into consideration when we're communing with the other. Like,
Yeah.
where are they at in their life? All those things are really helpful to know. And if you're in a partnership already, it's still not a bad idea to kind of take some time and ask some deeper questions about where your partner's at. You might know that they're already, taking this or that, but you might not know that yesterday at work, they had this really emasculating experience with their boss and they just didn't want to bother telling you about it. But if you do have that information, then you can go directly to their power center. And when they're in that sexually open and vulnerable state, you can re-empower them, help to re-empower them with words of affirmation. Like, you are a powerful, integral man, and you are, a phenomenal partner for me and an amazing dad. And you're so good at what you do at work. And I'm so proud of you. Just putting that deposit of positivity into their power center after they've been disempowered by somebody else is just going to really build a lot of emotional capital between the two of you. You better bet they're going to be texting you the next day and thinking about you all day the next day, especially in the face of that, person who did disempower them.
Yeah. So to kind of recap, what do you want to ask your guy is, what opens your heart when you feel closed? What do you need from me when you feel shut down in your heart so that you can open up faster? And how can I be there for you? Another thing is how do you feel connection? Does that feel easier for you after sex? before sex? What do you need in order to open to sex at a deeper level? And then to kind of carry on and talk about, and what makes you feel safe with me? For instance, like quality time where you're really filled with presence. Like, how do we actually create intimacy with each other? That means you have to cultivate a couple things in order to have really great intimacy.
On the spot.
Trust, presence, and vulnerability. So those are the big three. We have to establish enough trust that we can be vulnerable with each other. And we have to be really present, which means really being in the moment. It's not always easy for me to give my husband undivided attention. It's actually something I'm really, honestly, not that great at.
She works on it.
I work on it. And what's so amazing is like when I show up for that, I immediately get rewarded. Like it matters to him.
Yeah.
And so even though it's not super easy for me to give anything my undivided attention, when I remember to slow down and show up, man, does it come back to me in spades. And so that's a practice I have to continue because it doesn't really come naturally to me.
Mm.
And when I was thinking about this, we were talking about this the other day when we were, in the training and doing these private sessions and realizing like how much presence is required for great sexual and intimate and like swimming in the deep type of experiences. It does take presence. And guess what? Presence takes energy. It's why those circuits, it's why elevating our circuitry and learning to have bigger capacity in our system to run more energy, safely, by the way, is so important because presence takes energy. It takes concentration. It takes focus. You have to really be there. And if we are overwhelmed and our adrenals are burned out, and we're flooded all the time and we're under-resourced, our ability to be present for our lover is greatly diminished and they become very low on our priority list. And so we have to really step back and go, what's going on in our life if we aren't each other's biggest priority? Because we tend to put the job and the kids and surviving ahead of everything. And this is really where we miss the boat in having a life that feels like we're thriving instead of just surviving.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that I was really noticing, as a single woman in this soup that we were in over the last 11 days is, there's a lot of women who had their hearts broken, right? And they go to this place of no longer trusting the masculine, no longer trusting the men. And then I started to open my eyes and see like, wow, there's plenty of men in the same category, in the same boat, where it's like that being able to trust the feminine with their hearts. And I do believe that there are men walking around in this world who have never been able to trust the feminine based on their relationship with their first feminine relationship, their mother,
caregivers. Mm-hmm.
And so it's just one of those things that if you can provide even like a session, like a 2-hour session for even a friend, it can be totally non-sexual, but just to provide a container, like, let me hold space for you for 2 hours. Let me tell you how amazing you are, and start to put just little seeds of hope to be able to trust again the other and to trust themselves with the other, I think is such a huge gift that we can give to men. I feel like that was a lot of stuff that I saw in the men's sharing was like that deep sense of worthiness. There's a stronger sense of faith in themselves that they can have that they can create that they can have, a beautiful woman fully present with them, that a woman will really take the time and put the energy forward to bring that level of presence that allows them to open up their hearts in a way that they haven't before.
Yeah, that really allows them to rest. There was one person who was really moved. His Dakini, or priestess for the night, said, I've got you. Like, you can just lay back and really receive. I have got you. You can rest. Nothing is expected of you. I don't need you to perform. I don't need you to stroke my ego. I don't need you to take care of me. I've got me and I've got you. And to feel like, oh, and she freaking meant it and she delivered on it. And, at 50 something years old, he says, I've never had that in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's such a huge gift.
And just it can be life changing.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then to just hold someone else's sexual nervous system is a thrill. I mean, there is something really, really beautiful about touching someone else's body and you feel deeply received. To have someone receive your gifts of touch and of presence, that eye contact's there, those affirmations are there, how you're stroking and arousing their body is met with like unconditional love without an agenda, and someone's just there for it. It's very healing. And I think that might surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely.
I think maybe the third thing is being desired. One of the things that a lot of men report is feeling under-desired. There tend to be the ones who have the desire, and so they're out chasing and looking to fulfill those desires. Mm-hmm. But they really feel like, God, wouldn't it be amazing if someone desired me the way I desired them?
Yeah.
If my sexuality wasn't made to be dangerous or unwanted or annoying or too much. Sometimes in our relationships, we can have mismatched libidos. And that can be really painful for couples.
Definitely.
And so oftentimes the one with a higher desire level just long
for the other to desire that
yes,
at the same level.
Because they're always kind of being pushed with not right now and leave me alone.
Yeah,
that's stuff. And so a lot of men are struggling with wanting to know, like, how do I get that?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I think is really an amazing double gift is that as women, when we learn to cultivate our desire, it becomes a major gift for us.
Yeah.
But then that desire gets to go out in the world and it does amazing things for the world, including the men that they desire.
Yeah.
And we have not normalized female desire the way that we have normalized male desire, even starting at puberty when it comes to wet dreams and boys' masturbation. And, we're still taught that men are the ones who want it, so they should be the ones that know how to do it. And what that does is it stops girls and women from investigating,
from figuring out
what we like,
their own body,
like
own pleasure.
What turns me on? We're never posed that question, and so our answer tends to be, I don't know.
Try something.
I don't know.
I'll let you know.
Oh yeah, try something. I'll tell you if I like it. That was my pet answer for years, and that's not a good answer. A better answer is, I don't know, but I'm willing to find out.
Yeah,
and so. How do we take that journey forward? And when we do, I think men will feel more met sexually.
Yeah. I mean, well, because they're meeting a woman who has sovereignty over her sexual energy and really understands how to move sexual energy through her body. It's great when you come across someone who you have amazing chemistry with and, oh my God, the fireworks are going off and it's explosive and it's just like you can't not just be all over the place with them. But how often does that happen? More often we get into long-term relationships and it's like those sparks and things start to fade away. So how do we keep them going? How do we find a way to generate Shakti and sexual energy, Jing Qi within our own systems? And then can we even take that out into our day? Can we take that, out into the park or out into the wilderness and connect with nature and use nature as a regenerative way to feel ignited, to feel alive, to feel sexually turned on?
One of the interesting things that came up in our episode with Irene Fair, who talked to us about highly sensitive people, is she talked about spontaneous desire and responsive desire. And when you're in the beginning of the courtship, the person who has responsive desire, they're getting it in spades in that first courting. You're texting all the time. You're on the phone for hours. You can't wait to see each other. You're going out. You're having adventures. You're doing things that are unusual. You're going to dinner. You're going to walks. You're going on more fun and interesting dates. So that responsive desire is at an all-time high, which is matching the spontaneous desire. So you'll look like a great match, right, in the beginning. And then as time goes on, we get used to each other, and then we move in with each other, and then life goes on. And now we've got the daily grind, and we're no longer generating interest and responsive desire, which is what a lot of women have.
Mm-hmm.
And so really what would be fun is for us to cultivate a lifestyle that is filled with a lot of curiosity, that is filled with some of the things we loved in the beginning, which just gets kind of harder and harder to do.
Well, this is where the presence comes in,
And
like
the
to
consciousness.
maintain that presence and that consciousness throughout the whole relationship. And I think, if you can, if you're getting into a relationship early on, it's to like build those things into your time together, no matter if you're living together or not. It's like every week, at least once a week, we do this activity together, or at least once a week, we do this activity together. And it could be something that's a little bit more invigorating, like, I don't know, go play pickleball or something,
And things will change depending on the season in your life. If you're raising little kids, priorities are going to be a lot different than when you are graduating kids from high school.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or when you're retiring, and so on and so forth.
And so it's good to get creative with these things. There's a deck of cards out there. I don't know the name of it, but it's like, you pull a card every day, and there's like a different activity that you can do together.
Yeah, those relationship cards are actually really great because they get you talking.
Yeah.
And when we start to have different types of conversations,
instead of the
to
same
each other,
old. Yeah.
and that will be a connection builder, which will always tends to lead to better sex. So there's this other piece that I think we can do to help men feel more safe with who they are as sexual beings, that I believe will really serve who they get to be as partners and as humans, because we brought this whole thing around due to how we're approaching women's sexuality in Tantra, and we really prioritize the goddess.
Yeah.
And that's actually been a really great thing, because we needed a cultural shift in how we are approaching female sexuality. So female sexuality can really blossom. And look, we got the short end of the stick for a really long time.
Yeah.
But now as we have a really sincere desire to turn towards men, and that is to hold a certain space where we are not judging who they are as sexual beings.
Mm-hmm.
Where we start to create a non-judgmental field for them to rest in that says, even if your desire is not something that turns me on, I'm still going to be safe. I want to be a safe person for you to share those desires with. Like, to really work on your desires don't disgust me. I'm not going to reject you because you have desires. And I think that is a very untapped conversation that women aren't having, because the truth is there's going to be some male desires that do scare us.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been guilty of being like, no way, I'm not doing that with you, and just really shutting down a man's desire.
And there's another way to do that.
Yeah, it's so much more,
I mean,
healthy.
You can hear someone's like kink for feet and go, tell me more about that. I don't really want my toes sucked, but I want to know why that's compelling for you, and what makes it sexy for you, and tell me about how that turns you on. When you can be curious about your partner's desires, that doesn't mean you are agreeing to fulfilling their desires. What you're agreeing to in that moment is to say, I see you. You matter. What turns you on is interesting to me. And tell me more about that. In no way, shape, or form are you saying, okay, now I have to do that. So unplug from thinking you're obligated to fulfill your partner's desire. It's oftentimes enough that you just hold a non-judgmental space to make it okay that they have some desires. Not all of our desires, including my own and yours, that I have, does that mean I even want to fulfill them? we can have some really awesome desires that we would never engage in.
Right.
For lots of reasons.
Right. Yeah.
You know, they're hot in our head.
But to talk about them and share them. And it's such a vulnerable thing because there is the fear of judgment.
Right. The
you
risk of
know?
judgment.
Yeah. And who wants to be judged around one of the most vulnerable things we do in life, which is sex. And, you know, on that same note of just really holding a very open and committed to that non-judgmental space is a lot of men will, you know, they'll drop into such a deep, relaxed state that they, you know, they're stressed out too. They're running around they've got a lot that they're holding up. And so when they drop in that deep, relaxed state, they might not be super hard right away. Or they might not get hard the whole time. They might just rock a soft on the whole time. And to revere and to honor and to just cherish their soft on and to have fun with it and to find your own pleasure with their soft on. It really allows a man, especially if he is struggling with ED or PE, premature, you know, having a hard time with ejaculatory control. It's just so... it helps him take pressure off of himself. Notice that when we have pressure on ourselves, we do not operate as fully. We're not as authentically in our essence in those states. And so it's so great to really bring that non-judgmental tone to any connection you're having, but especially an intimate one.
Yeah, I think you're bringing up a really healing aspect to all of this, which is highlighting sexual performance and how scary and vulnerable it is when you don't feel like you're functioning right, or you feel like there's something wrong now with your sexual energy and how it's performing, unlike maybe a previous time in your life, and how we can show up with greater sensitivity if our partner is struggling with that. Because I think in some unique ways, men identify with their sexuality as a part of their identity as a man with a capital M in a way that a lot of women don't.
Yeah.
And so for us to turn up the volume on being sensitive and mindful and being very aware that we are not shaming or ridiculing, but we're even creating a place for them to be naked, to be touched, to take the pressure off their performance, and to allow them to feel loved regardless of an erection is actually like so tremendously important.
And regardless of their age, and regardless of the shape of their body, and regardless of the skin, and we're just regardless of all of it. Because we're all walking around in these bodies, you know, and they come in all different shapes and sizes and different ages as we age. And there's so much stigma around what beautiful is, what attractive is, what sexy is. And, you know, sexy is a sensation. It's a feeling. It's like you can be in any body, in any age, shape, color. And if you're feeling that sexual energy rolling through your body and you're channeling it, you know, in a way that really lights you up and makes you feel alive, that's what sexy is. And I think that definitely, you know, the way that we look and if we're, you know, moving in the right way is a huge thing for women, but it's a huge thing for men too.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's just a little drop in the bucket.
Okay. Yeah.
Wanting to celebrate men and who they are as sexual beings, and some of the process with which we can show up with more love and more safety.
Absolutely. And if you have anything to add, write it in the comments. We want to hear from you. We want to know, you know, what really struck you as like maybe an aha from what we spoke about, or if it jogged something in your own experience, in your own thought process that you want to add to the pot here and just start more of a conversation around how we can support the masculine to find their freedom and the non-judgmental and an open space to be in their virility and to be in their sexuality.
Yeah, please teach us all in the comments and let us know what works for you and what doesn't work for you so we can continue learning. All right, y'all. Love.
Thanks for tuning in. This episode was hosted by Tantric Sex Master Coach and Positive Psychology Facilitator Leah Piper. as well as by Chinese and functional medicine doctor and Taoist sexology teacher, Dr. Willow Brown. Don't forget, your comments, likes, subscribes, and suggestions matter. Let's realize this new world together.
Awaken Arousal Oil is my new best friend. Like Laura says, holy forking shirt balls, did it deliver on its promise. I could feel the blood flow and warmth, and that was the easiest I've ever achieved multiple orgasms. This is all natural botanical oils. It is made with CBD because CBD helps relax muscles and it eases tension. This stuff smells so good and it mixes with your pheromones like mwah, so good. Get yourself some. Link is in the show notes.